Hello, welcome back. In this particular video, we're going to be looking at ordering main points in reading and also in writing. So within the context of reading, we're looking at how the author organized their main points. And within the context of writing, how you as the writer would organize your text. So let's go ahead and see what we can learn. So when we're talking about this, we've talked about something similar when we were talking about organizing like our supporting details. And this is kind of a repeat of that prior video, but the difference is at the unit of analysis. In a prior video, when we talked about organizing your supporting details, that was within a paragraph. So in this particular video, or in this example, we're looking at organizing not the details within a paragraph, but rather organizing paragraphs. So across, chapters or across pages or whatever, or across a book. It's a slightly different unit of analysis. So on this screen, we have 5 different ways that you can organize your main points. Of course, there's more than this in many situations. Topical, chronological, causal, problem solution, and spatial order. So for topical order, you're dividing your topic. Remember, your topic is what you're writing about or what you're reading about or what you're talking about into several related subtopics. And another word for subtopic could be paragraphs. So I have an example here. My topic is basketball. So the general paper is about basketball, and then I can have several subtopics. These could be paragraphs, these could be sections, these could be chapters in a book. So it might be about history, one part, then rules, greatest players, whatever. And then I could break it down even further and organize things differently. So for example, history will probably be chronological. There's in the beginning, if you will, and up to the present day. Rules might be topical. Greatest players could be chronological. If I want to go from the greatest players from the 1950s and do a couple each decade or whatever, or it could be topical, however I want to do it. But the point here is that you must be aware of how you're trying to organize things. Students often have no clue about how they want to build and set up their writing, and or they have no idea how the author of a book that they're reading has built or set up their writing as well, or of the book, if you will. And so when this is not clear, of course, it becomes difficult to comprehend. And see, this stuff, it kind of happens intuitively. Students will sometimes know they don't understand something or they don't understand what they are reading, but they can't exactly tell you why. And so your job as a teacher is to make them aware of things like this, because these are tools to help them to organize their thoughts and hopefully to improve their comprehension. And again, to jump back to writing again, students will often struggle with their writing, but they don't know specifically what exactly the problem is. And again, I'm stepping past things like grammar and everything like that, and perhaps if you're working with ESL students. But again, if you point out these different ways of organizing their thoughts, it can help to kickstart them so they can have success. Now, the next way to order your main points or your paragraphs or topics or whatever is, of course, chronological, and that is dealing with a time sequence. So again, my topic again is basketball. And so you can see I start with early origins, professional league, and then the modern era. And so each one of these subtopics, they could be paragraphs, they could be chapters in a book. However I set up my unit of analysis will cover these things. But what's important here is that I'm going to start with early origins. The order matters in this particular example. Next one. Causal order. So this is where you have chain of events, almost like falling dominoes. This causes that, that causes this, etc. And so my topic here, if you can see that on the screen, is, of course, tuition. And so when we talk about tuition, I have my 2 subtopics are my paragraphs, or whatever I want to call them. I can say the cause, or the thing that's making the problems, if you will, is tuition is rising, and the effect is students cannot afford to study. Again, I can spend a chapter on each one of those, a paragraph on each one of those. It doesn't matter how I set it up. And so the other way to look at this is, instead of having the cause first, you have the effect first. So if you look at the second example at the bottom of the screen, you can see here that the effect is students cannot afford to study, and that's because tuition is rising. So again, which way you do it kind of depends on your writing style and who you're writing for. For example, newspapers might do the cause and then the effect first. But of course, sometimes they take the opposite approach. It really depends on the writing style of the author, the audience that you are writing for as well. Now, for people who are trying to comprehend what you're reading, you want to try to keep tabs on how the author is trying to present their ideals to you, because this will, again, help you to be more aware of what you understand and do not understand. There's a certain amount of self-awareness that is necessary to be a successful reader or to be a successful writer. And this is very difficult for students as they are trying to mature. Okay, problem solution. This is very similar to the cause and effect, but the difference here is that you're trying to present a way to solve a problem. So with the problem solution, you are explaining what is wrong, and then you are providing suggestions on how to fix it. So again, our topic is tuition again. And so the problem is that students cannot study because of rising tuition. And so the solution might be to increase access to government loans. All right. And so you can see right there that the purpose of this particular order is to make the reader aware of a problem and then to show you a potential way to solve that problem. Again, when this is done depends on the context. You must be aware of your own writing style, the genre of writing that you are participating in, as well as the audience who is going to read your particular paper. The last one I believe is spatial order, and this one has to do with location and direction. So this is not the most common way of doing things, but it does exist out there, maybe more so in like the social studies and traveling. And so you might have a topic of a famous city, think Paris or Bangkok or Washington, D.C., and you might want to break it down by, direction. So what's in North Washington, D.C.? What's in the South? What's in East? What's in North Bangkok? Or what's in East or West Bangkok? And you share paragraphs on that. Another way to do this is like if you are writing a paper about a country, many countries are broken down by a region. The northern states of the United States, the southern states, the West Coast, the East Coast. Again, if you organize your paper in a manner that includes a sense of location and direction, that is an example of spatial order. So to recap and wrap this up, we looked at looks like 5 different ways that you can organize your writing to help people to understand what you're writing. And also for those of you who are focused on reading comprehension, these are 5 different ways to support your ability to understand what you're reading. And these are topical order, chronological, causal, problem solution, and spatial order. So I want to thank you again for watching. My name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Thank you again for watching, and you take care.